Every morning, you wake up, and without even thinking about it, you reach for your phone. The familiar weight of it in your hand feels like an extension of yourself, a digital appendage that connects you to the same feeds, the same messages, the same digital reality you inhabited yesterday. Your feet hit the floor in the same way they have for years, following a path worn smooth by countless repetitions. You shuffle to the bathroom, brush your teeth with the same mechanical precision your body learned decades ago, and look in the mirror at the same person you were yesterday. The reflection staring back at you carries the same expression, the same subtle tension around the eyes, the same unconscious posture that speaks a familiar resignation. This isn't just habit. This is the invisible prison of familiar identity. And it's the most powerful force keeping you trapped in cycles that no amount of positive thinking, goal setting, or external changes can break. It's more than routine. It's the gravitational pull of who you believe yourself to be, drawing you back into the same patterns with a force so subtle yet so absolute that most people never even recognize its existence. What I'm about to share with you will fundamentally shift how you understand reality creation and why every attempt you've made to change your life has felt like pushing against an immovable wall. The wall isn't your circumstances, your past, or even your limiting beliefs. The wall is your identity operating at a frequency so deep, so automatic, that it recreates the same vibrational signature day after day, attracting experiences that match exactly who you believe yourself to be at the quantum level. This identity frequency operates like a master tuning fork, vibrating at a specific rate that resonates through every cell of your body, every thought in your mind, every emotion in your heart. It's broadcasting a signal so consistent, so unwavering, that the universe has no choice but to respond with experiences that match this transmission. You are literally a walking radio tower, sending out the same signal day after day, and wondering why you keep receiving the same stations. Most people live their entire lives completely unaware that they are trapped in what I call the quantum identity loop. This loop operates below the threshold of conscious awareness, running programs that were installed years, sometimes decades ago. These programs don't just influence your thoughts or emotions. They literally determine the frequency at which you vibrate, and this frequency acts like a radio station, broadcasting a signal into the quantum field, calling forth experiences that match your internal state. The quantum identity loop is so seamless, so integrated into your daily experience, that it feels like reality itself. When you wake up feeling the same way you felt yesterday, when you find yourself thinking the same thoughts you've been thinking for months, when you react to situations in the same predictable ways, you're not experiencing reality. You're experiencing the echo chamber of your own identity frequency bouncing back to you from the quantum field. Think about this for a moment. Every person you know who complains about the same problems year after year, every individual who seems to attract the same type of relationships or financial struggles, every human being who feels stuck despite their best efforts to change, they are all broadcasting the same identity frequency they've been transmitting for years. They wake up as the same person, think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, and wonder why their external world remains unchanged. These people aren't lazy or broken or lacking in desire. They're simply caught in a quantum loop where their identity frequency is so stable, so consistent, that it creates a reality tunnel with walls so high they can't see over them. They experience the same types of people, the same kinds of opportunities, the same emotional states, because their identity is calling forth these experiences with the precision of a homing beacon. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you want. It doesn't care about your goals, your dreams, or your conscious desires. The quantum field is not a cosmic wish-granting entity that listens to your requests and decides whether to fulfill them. The quantum field responds to who you are being at the deepest level of your identity. It responds to the frequency you're broadcasting through your subconscious beliefs about yourself, your worth, your capabilities, and what you deserve. This is why someone can want financial abundance with every fiber of their conscious mind, while simultaneously carrying a deep identity as someone who struggles with money. The quantum field receives the identity signal, not the conscious desire. Your conscious mind might be screaming for change, creating vision boards, setting goals, repeating affirmations, but if your identity frequency is broadcasting lack, struggle, or unworthiness, the quantum field will organize experiences that match this deeper signal. It's like having a conversation where your words say one thing, but your body language, tone, and energy say something completely different. The universe responds to the deeper communication, not the surface message. In quantum physics, there's a principle called the observer effect. This principle states that the act of observation changes the reality being observed. The very presence of an observer collapses infinite possibilities into a single experienced reality. In the context of your life, your identity is the observer. Your identity is constantly observing reality through the lens of who you believe yourself to be, and this observation literally creates the experiences you encounter. When you identify as someone who has bad luck in relationships, you observe potential partners through this lens, unconsciously selecting and responding to people who will confirm this identity. Your identity acts as a filter, allowing you to see and respond to certain aspects of reality while remaining blind to others. You notice the red flags that confirm your expectations while missing the green lights that could lead to something different. You interpret neutral behaviors as negative confirmations and dismiss positive signals as temporary anomalies. When you identify as someone who struggles financially, you observe opportunities through the filter of scarcity, missing abundance that exists right in front of you. Your identity creates a perceptual reality where you see problems instead of possibilities, obstacles instead of openings, reasons why things won't work instead of ways they could work. The opportunities for financial growth are there, but your identity frequency makes them invisible to your perception. This is why changing your external circumstances without changing your identity is like rearranging furniture in a burning house. The fundamental structure remains the same. You might get temporary relief, a brief period where things seem different, but inevitably, your identity frequency reasserts itself, and you find yourself back in familiar patterns. The person who wins the lottery but identifies as poor will find ways to lose the money. They'll make bad investments, trust the wrong people, or simply spend beyond their means until they return to the financial state that matches their identity. The individual who gets into a healthy relationship but identifies as unlovable will sabotage the connection. They'll create drama, pick fights, or find reasons to push their partner away because the experience of being loved doesn't match their internal identity frequency. The dissonance between their external experience and internal identity creates such discomfort that they unconsciously work to restore the familiar state of being unloved. The entrepreneur who achieves success but identifies as a failure will unconsciously make decisions that recreate struggle. They'll ignore profitable opportunities, make poor strategic choices, or engage in self-defeating behaviors that bring them back to the familiar territory of struggle and limitation. Success feels foreign, uncomfortable, like wearing clothes that don't fit, so they unconsciously work to return to the identity state they know. Your subconscious mind is not your enemy, but it is the guardian of your familiar identity. Its primary job is to keep you safe, and in its primitive understanding, safe means familiar. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between good familiar and bad familiar. It only recognizes known versus unknown, predictable versus unpredictable. Even if familiar is painful, even if familiar is limiting, even if familiar is slowly destroying your dreams, your subconscious will fight to maintain the identity patterns it knows. This protective mechanism served you well when you were young and vulnerable, when consistency and predictability were essential for survival. But what once protected you now imprisons you. The same mechanism that kept you safe in childhood now keeps you trapped in adulthood, defending an identity that may no longer serve your highest good. The most insidious part of this cycle is that it operates through micro-decisions that seem completely insignificant. The way you hold your body when you walk into a room broadcasts your identity frequency through your posture, your gait, your energy field. The tone of voice you use when you speak carries the vibration of how you see yourself, and others unconsciously respond to this frequency. The thoughts you entertain, when no one is watching, create an internal environment that either supports or undermines your desired reality. The stories you tell yourself about why things happen to you reveal the identity lens through which you interpret reality. Each of these micro-expressions of identity sends a signal into the quantum field, and the field responds by organizing circumstances, people, and opportunities that match this signal. These signals are so subtle, so automatic, that you're sending them constantly without any conscious awareness. I once worked with a woman who desperately wanted to find love, but had been single for over a decade. She was attractive, intelligent, successful in her career, and genuinely kind-hearted. She had tried everything: dating apps, social events, personal development courses, therapy, matchmaking services. Nothing worked. She would meet men who seemed interested initially, but somehow every connection would fizzle out or turn into friendship rather than romance. When we examined her identity patterns, we discovered that every morning when she looked in the mirror, she unconsciously reinforced an identity as someone who was unlovable. The way she dressed was practical rather than feminine, as if she had given up on being seen as desirable. The way she spoke about herself was self-deprecating, constantly pointing out her flaws before anyone else could notice them. The way she moved through the world was apologetic, as if she was sorry for taking up space. She wasn't consciously trying to repel love. Her identity was doing it automatically. Her energy field was broadcasting a signal that said she didn't expect to be chosen, didn't believe she was worthy of deep love, and was preparing for disappointment. Men could sense this energy even if they couldn't articulate it, and they unconsciously responded by keeping their distance or treating her as a friend rather than a romantic possibility. Within 3 months of shifting her identity frequency, she met her future husband. Not because she changed her external behavior, but because she began broadcasting a different signal. She started waking up as someone who was already loved, already worthy, already complete. She changed the way she dressed, not to attract men, but to honor the feminine energy within herself. She changed the way she spoke about herself, not to impress others, but to align her words with her new identity frequency. Most importantly, she changed the way she felt about herself at the deepest level. Instead of hoping someone would love her, she embodied the frequency of someone who was already beloved. The quantum field responded to this new frequency by organizing circumstances that matched her new identity. She didn't have to work harder at dating or try new strategies. She simply had to become the person who was already in a loving relationship, and the relationship appeared. This is the power and the trap of quantum identity. Every experience you've ever had has been a perfect match for the frequency you were broadcasting at that moment. Every relationship, every financial situation, every opportunity or lack thereof, every health challenge, every moment of joy or suffering has been a precise reflection of your identity operating at the quantum level. This isn't about blame or judgment. This is about understanding the mechanism so you can consciously work with it, instead of being unconsciously controlled by it. The reason most people remain trapped in cycles is that they try to change their lives from the level of behavior or thinking, never realizing that identity operates at a much deeper frequency. They set goals without changing who they are being. They create detailed plans without shifting the internal frequency that will determine whether those plans succeed or fail. They try to think positively while carrying an identity rooted in negativity, like trying to play beautiful music on an instrument that's fundamentally out of tune. They attempt to manifest abundance while identifying as someone who lacks, not understanding that the quantum field responds to identity frequency, not conscious desire. They work on their limiting beliefs while maintaining an identity that recreated those beliefs in the first place. It's like trying to receive a different radio station without changing the frequency you're tuned to. You can adjust the volume, change the antenna position, or buy a better radio, but until you change the frequency, you'll keep receiving the same station. Your current identity was formed through a combination of childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, repeated thoughts, and emotional patterns. Over time, these elements crystallized into a coherent sense of self that feels absolutely real and permanent. Every experience you had was interpreted through the lens of this developing identity, and every interpretation reinforced the identity pattern, creating a self-reinforcing loop that became stronger and more automatic with each repetition. But here's what most people don't understand: identity is not fixed. It's not permanent. It's not who you really are. Identity is simply a frequency pattern that has been reinforced through repetition, and any frequency pattern can be changed. Your identity feels permanent because it's been consistent, not because it's actually unchangeable. It feels real because you've been experiencing its effects for so long, not because it represents some fundamental truth about who you are. The quantum field is infinitely creative and responds instantly to shifts in frequency. The field doesn't have preferences or judgments about which frequency is better or worse. It simply responds to whatever signal it receives with perfect precision and infinite creativity. The moment you begin operating from a new identity, the field begins reorganizing to match this new signal. New people, new opportunities, new possibilities begin moving toward you, not because you've worked harder or gotten luckier, but because you're broadcasting a different frequency. But here's the challenge. You must embody the new identity before you see evidence of it in your external world. You must become the person who already has what you want before the quantum field can deliver the corresponding experiences. This is where most people get stuck, because it requires acting as if something is true before you have proof that it's true. It requires faith in the process rather than evidence of the outcome. This requires a level of faith and commitment that most people are unwilling to embrace. It means waking up tomorrow as a different person than you were today, not because your circumstances have changed, but because you've chosen to embody a different frequency. It means thinking different thoughts, not because you feel like it, but because these thoughts match your new identity. It means feeling different emotions, not because external events have improved, but because your new identity naturally generates these emotional states. It means making different choices, not because they're easier or more comfortable, but because they align with who you're becoming rather than who you've been. It means holding your body in a different way, speaking with a different tone, moving through the world with a different energy. Because these physical expressions are the broadcasting mechanisms for your identity frequency. The quantum gateway process begins with recognition. You must first become aware of the identity patterns that have been running your life unconsciously. This isn't about analyzing your past or understanding why you develop these patterns. Psychological analysis can be helpful, but it often keeps you focused on the old identity rather than helping you create a new one. This is about observing, in real time, how your current identity expresses itself through your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and energy. Start by noticing the story you tell yourself about who you are. Listen to the internal narrative that runs through your mind throughout the day. Pay attention to how you describe yourself to others and, more importantly, how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. Notice the emotions you habitually feel and the physical posture you unconsciously adopt. These are all expressions of your current identity frequency, and they're all broadcasting signals into the quantum field. Most people are shocked when they begin to observe their identity patterns objectively. They realize they've been carrying stories about themselves that are decades old, operating from beliefs that were never consciously chosen, and expressing an identity that doesn't match who they want to become. They discover that their internal dialogue is far more negative than limiting than they ever realized, and that their habitual emotional states are creating exactly the experiences they say they don't want. This recognition is the first step toward freedom, but it's also the most challenging because it requires you to see clearly how you've been creating your own limitations. It requires taking responsibility for your role in creating your current reality, not from a place of self-blame, but from a place of empowerment. When you realize that you've been unconsciously creating your limitations, you also realize that you have the power to consciously create something different. The second phase of the quantum gateway process involves conscious identity dissolution. This is where you deliberately release attachment to who you've been and create space for who you're becoming. This isn't about rejecting or hating your current identity. Your current identity served a purpose, protected you in certain ways, and got you to where you are now. This is about recognizing that your current identity was perfect for where you've been but is not aligned with where you're going. Identity dissolution requires you to question everything you believe about yourself. Who would you be without your story of struggle? Who would you be without your history of limitation? Who would you be without the familiar patterns that have defined you for years? Who would you be without the need to be right about your limitations? This questioning creates cracks in the structure of your old identity, allowing new possibilities to emerge. The most powerful tool for identity dissolution is what I call quantum uncertainty. Instead of trying to figure out who you should become, you learn to be comfortable not knowing who you are. You release the need to have a fixed identity and allow yourself to exist in the space between who you were and who you're becoming. This space of uncertainty is where quantum transformation occurs, because uncertainty is the natural state of infinite possibility. Most people are terrified of uncertainty because their current identity provides a sense of security, even if that security is limiting. But uncertainty is the doorway to infinite possibility. When you're not locked into a fixed identity, the quantum field has unlimited options for how to respond to your frequency. When you release the need to know who you are, you become available to discover who you could be. In this space of not knowing, miracles become possible because you're not limiting the field's response to what matches your current identity. The third phase involves conscious identity creation. This is where you deliberately choose the frequency you want to broadcast and begin embodying this new identity before you have any external evidence that it's real. This is the most challenging phase because it requires you act as if you're already the person you want to become, while your external circumstances still reflect your old identity. Conscious identity creation begins with clarity about the frequency you want to embody. This isn't about creating a persona or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about aligning with the highest version of yourself and allowing this alignment to express itself through every aspect of your being. You must be able to feel this new identity in your body, think from this new identity in your mind, and express this new identity through your actions, even when no one is watching. The key to successful identity creation is consistency. You must embody your new identity in every moment, not just when it's convenient or when you feel like it. This means waking up as this new person, making decisions from this new frequency, and maintaining this new vibration, even when your external world hasn't caught up yet. The quantum field is always testing your commitment to your new identity, and it will only reorganize when it receives a consistent, unwavering signal. One of the most powerful aspects of quantum identity transformation is that it happens instantaneously at the quantum level. The moment you shift your identity frequency, you begin broadcasting a new signal, and the field begins responding immediately. However, the manifestation of this new frequency in your physical reality takes time, because physical matter is denser and slower to reorganize than quantum energy. There's a lag time between the shift in frequency and the appearance of corresponding experiences. This is why the period immediately following an identity shift can be the most challenging. You're embodying a new frequency, but your external world still reflects your old identity. Your bank account, your relationships, your living situation, your health, everything in your physical reality was created by your previous identity frequency and will take time to shift. During this transition period, you must maintain absolute faith in your new identity without external validation. The quantum field will test your commitment to your new identity in every way possible. It will present you with opportunities to return to your old patterns, to doubt your new frequency, to give up on your transformation. These tests aren't obstacles. They're confirmation that your new signal is being received and that reality is beginning to reorganize. Every time you choose to maintain your new identity frequency, despite external evidence to the contrary, you strengthen the signal and accelerate the manifestation process. Understanding the quantum mechanics of identity, transformation changes everything about how you approach personal development. Instead of trying to fix problems in your external world, you focus on shifting the internal frequency that created those problems. Instead of working harder to achieve your goals, you become the person who already has those goals fulfilled. Instead of waiting for evidence that you can change, you embody the change and allow the evidence to follow. This process requires a level of personal responsibility that most people are not prepared to embrace. It means acknowledging that every experience in your life has been created by the frequency you've been broadcasting. It means releasing victim consciousness and stepping into creator consciousness. It means understanding that you are not at the mercy of external circumstances, but are the conscious creator of your reality through the identity you choose to embody. The quantum gateway process is not a one-time event, but an ongoing practice of conscious identity management. As you evolve and grow, your identity must evolve with you. What served you at one level of development may become a limitation at the next level. The key is to remain flexible, willing to release old identity patterns as they become obsolete and open to embodying new frequencies as they become available. The transformation that becomes possible through quantum identity shifting is not incremental. It's not about making small improvements to your existing life. It's about quantum leaps into entirely new realities that match your new frequency. When you truly shift your identity at the quantum level, everything changes. Your relationships change, your opportunities change, your health changes, your financial situation changes, because you are broadcasting a completely different signal into the field. This is why traditional approaches to change often fail. They work at the surface level of behavior and thinking while leaving the deeper identity frequency unchanged. It's like trying to change the image on a movie screen by touching the screen instead of changing the film in the projector. The identity is the film, and the external world is the screen. To change what appears on the screen, you must change the film. The quantum gateway opens when you realize that you are not your current identity. You are the consciousness that has been expressing through this identity, and you have the power to choose a different expression. You are not limited by your past, your circumstances, or your conditioning. You are an infinite being temporarily focused through the lens of a particular identity, and you can shift this focus at any moment. The moment you step through the quantum gateway, you enter a reality where anything is possible. You're no longer bound by the limitations of your previous identity or the patterns that have defined your past. You become a conscious creator, deliberately choosing the frequency you embody and allowing the quantum field to organize reality around this new signal. This is not theory or philosophy. This is the practical mechanics of how reality works at the deepest level. And once you understand and apply these principles, your entire life becomes an expression of conscious creation rather than unconscious repetition.